بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته, and welcome all to our kid talk, our continuation of our online club. Um, Starting a little bit late today, but nevertheless, we're continuing, inshallah, with our sessions. As usual, the first session is our qaida practice. So I still have to share on the group um, this exercise, and I will do that inshallah after our session. Um, Last day, where we started, was going through examples of words that are in their joined forms, and we look at these words themselves in their joined forms, and we can find out and practice our recognition of letters in joined form. You mentioned the fact yesterday that this is one of the most important skills that students can take at this point. If a student goes quick from letters to vowels, then what does happen is that the student is still looking to figure out what letter is rather than to figure out what the vowel is and how it sounds. So to prevent that, just like when we learn English, we need to master the letters completely. When we've mastered completely, that can move on to vowels and making sounds. So yesterday we covered these first two rows right here. So we will continue today with inshallah is the next two rows and some of the three-letter words. So let's continue. Reciting after me again. And inshallah from today, when I send out on the group, it will be obvious inshallah the post. Students can have a practice themselves of words on their own time. But a lot of this with regards to recognition is just practice. And that practice we will do as much as we can of here, but the student does, the better that they will get at vowels. And the better they get at vowels, letters, the better that they get at letters, the more fluent of reciters students will become. Let's get going, inshallah. We have after ya, dal, sheen, raw, lam, wow, meme, seen, ha, qaf, ha, ba, dod, lam, alif, noon. Okay, good. Ba, lam, ha, wow, ha, lam, lam, noon, meme, ain, jim, noon, ha, ya, 9 noon. Okay, good. Now, it's very important for me to mention here what we consider a student knows these 4 lines. You know, very commonly in our maktab systems, what we might have is that we would go through one line with a student, they will go, they will practice it, and then they'll come back and they'll read it. And what we have to question is what is the level of preparation a student needs to be able to read this? I would say for a student to be considered as mastered these 4 lines, they would need to be able to read all of these letters without hesitation, making no more than 3 to 5 mistakes. That's a student who mastered all of this. If a student has mixed, different words and is not able to correct themselves, then they're not ready to move forward. Very frequently, what we have is that when students read Quran or even Qaida, they're going through the Quran, they're going through Qaida, but their preparations that they're reading after the teacher, they go back and making quite a lot of mistakes and quite a lot of, they are quite certain about the letters that they're actually reading and the vowels they're actually reading. A student, what they should do when they're trying to practice the Quran learning Qaida, is that they should set a goal of how many times they need to practice a lesson. So, for example, if my lesson was this first line, right, this first line here, then what I would do is that I would read all of these once, I would read all of this twice, I would read all of this 3 times at the minimum. Then I would want to make sure that I'm reading all of them correctly, right? While I'm reading those 3 times. And then if I want to perfect my lesson, I will start perhaps from number 8 and then I'll go backwards, right? So that I know my lesson inside out, right? And when I reach the level, as I mentioned, that I can read this entire line without hesitation, meaning ba, ha, kaf, meme, sword, raw. I'm not taking a point that I have to be like kaf, ha. No, no, no. A student will know that this is kaf and meme, right? When they reach that level, that they can read without hesitation and they're not making more than 3 to 5 mistakes for all 4 lines. They have learned that lesson and they're ready of that lesson. So, and inshallah, I send this document later. Students at home and parents should think about this kind of standard because if you maintain this throughout the entire process of doing the qaida, then students become very, very strong reciters. However, if you go through learning the qaida very weakly, then obviously the end result is going to be weak. Students will become weak reciters. Reciters like the people that we find, the imams of the Haramain, all of those famous reciters that people listen to on YouTube, people listen to their recitations. Do you think that, just because they were in a place that Arabic was spoken, the Quran became strong because they just went through it half-heartedly? No, the Quran became very, very strong. The Quran became very, very strong because they had put forward a very, very strict regiment of learning the actual Quran. So, inshallah, our goal should be that when we learn in a way that it is a very high standard. We learn in a way that is complete. And when we do so, our end result will also be complete. All right. Someone who's trying to become a hafiz of Quran and who memorizes the Quran, making mistakes is fine, right? But a student knows that when they make mistakes, then they're going to work on removing those mistakes, and that's how they become stronger, right? But a student doesn't, do their learning half-heartedly, and end up becoming a weak half of the Quran. Okay, So if there's any more audio issues, please let me know in the comments as well. And I will try to adjust, inshallah. Jazakallah. All right, so let's continue with the three-letter words. We'll just do 2 lines today, inshallah. So we first of all have, in all of these 3-letter examples, we are now going to introduce a beginning word, or rather beginning letter, a middle letter, and an ending letter. So you'll now start to see more of the forms of the letters in their joint manners together. Okay. So first of all, sword, ba, ha. Again, sword, ba, ha. Okay, good. Next, ta, ya, noon. Next one, sin, hamza, lam. Next one, lam, hamza, kaf. Next one, mim, kaf, ta. Okay, so what I want to just pause and point out is the fact that in number 2, we have 3 letters that are part of the both family, right? What we see written here is that we have the letter ta, right? The letter ta. Then we have the letter ya. Then we have the letter noon. And all of these joint forms are now connected together to form one condensed word, right? So our ability to split this connected word into its 3 individual letters and recognize their forms is what we are practicing here today, inshallah. Next line, we have noon, kha, mim. So again, as a reminder, we have the letter kha, right? That's what we're seeing here. And then on top of the kha, which means that it comes first, is this small stroke with a dot. What has 1 dot and looks like a stroke is a noon, right? Next, ta, goin, noon. Ya, dod, ain. Noon, ba, aleph. And ba, lam, coin. Okay. Last thing we'll point out today is the fact that, if you remember, this is an aleph and this is a lam. The way that they look at the end of words are different. Right? Lam looks like a lam at the end of a word. Aleph, on the other hand, right? So aleph and lam. Okay, so the way that they look at the end of words are different, right? Then we mentioned the fact that we had kha and noon on top of it, right? So kha and noon. And here we mentioned the fact that we had ta, ya, and noon. Okay, right. So inshallah, I will send today this document. I'll make it available on the group. It'll likely be in on a post, and I'll show the method of accessing it. And students will be able to work on their own pace, because While I am going to go through all of these lines, inshallah, mastering them takes a longer time, right? And if a student is able to master what we do here and for the next day, then by the time that we're done, those students will have no issues with letters again, inshallah. Right? Okay, so that'll bring us into our Qaida practice today. Let's move on to our Quran reading. So yesterday we started Surah Al-Qari'ah. We got a far way down into Surah. We reached here, which is the end of the 7th verse, starting from the beginning. What we will do today is that we will start from this 8th verse, all right, and then we will complete the surah. Then we will start back from the beginning and recite the entire surah once. Okay. Remember, when we begin our recitation of the Quran, we always start off with the ta'awudh and the tasmiyah, right? The ta'awudh, a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, and the tasmiyah, or also called the basmala, bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Right. Let's get going. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وأما من وأما من خفت موازينه خفت موازينه again. وأما من خفت موازينه and the whole thing. وأما من خفت موازينه. Right, let's move on to the next ayah. فأمه فأمه هاوية هاوية the whole line. فأمه هاوية. Good one. وما أدراك وما أدراك ما هي ما هي. The whole line. وما أدراك ما هي. Lastly, نار. So the whole thing. نار حامية. نار حامية. Okay, so before we recite these verses again, one important thing to mention is the fact that this last ha is the airy ha, right? Narun hamia. Hamia. Before that, all of the others were flat. All right, this is the only instance of the very airy ha. Okay, then when we said ma hiya, all right, fa ummuhu, all of those are flat. This is the one that is airy. Right. So let's recite first of all these verses that we did today, and then we recite the entire surah. وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَفَّتْ مَوَازِينُهُ فَأُمُّهُ هَاوِيَةٌ وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا هِيَهْ نَارٌ حَامِيَةٌ. All right. So we did half of the surah yesterday and half today. So let's finish off this session today by reciting the entire surah. Going line by line, taking our time, trying our best to recite the verses in its entirety. Some of the verses are a little bit long, some of them short and easy. So let's take our time, inshallah. Al-Qari'at. Mal-Qari'ah. وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا الْقَارِعَةُ يَوْمَ يَكُونُ النَّاسُ كَالْفَرَاشِ الْمَبْثُوثِ وَتَكُونُ الْجِبَالُ كَالْعِهْنِ الْمَنفُوشِ فَأَمَّا مَنْ ثَقُلَتْ مَوَازِينُهُ فهو في عيشة راضية وأما من خفت موازينه فأمه هاوية وما أدراك ما هي نار حامية. Okay, so that brings us to the end of Surah Al-Qari'ah. The surah talks about the Day of Judgment, which is the day that we all have to stand before Allah, right? Day of Judgment is the day that every individual has to stand before Allah. This surah talks about how it will be on that day, and more importantly, the fact that those people whose scales are heavy, meaning that they had done a lot of good deeds, they did as much as they could in their lives, they will be very, very happy on that day. And those people whose scales are light, meaning that there are a lot of bad deeds and not enough good deeds, then they will not have a good time on that day, right? So it's reminding us as individuals that we should exert ourselves in doing as many good deeds as we can and modeling our lives around the doing of good and the obedience of Allah. Right? It's very important to take that as a reminder, inshallah. Um, the next day, which is tomorrow, inshallah, we move on to Surah Al Adiyah. Right? Surah Al Adiyah, talking about the horses. Good. All right, let's move on to our Islamic studies now. All right. So yesterday we sort of recapped the sunnahs of eating and the sunnahs of sleeping. Talked about two of the sunnahs of the month of Ramadan. In particular, they weren't exclusive to the month of Ramadan, but they are sunnahs anyway. Those would have been using the miswak, right, to brush your teeth, as well as performing tahajjud salah. Today, inshallah, we want to go back a little bit to fasting and the rules of fasting. And we know right now we are about 11 days into the month of Ramadan. And that means because of the fact that there are 29 or 30 days in the month, in Islamic month or lunar month, we are more than one third, right, through the month of Ramadan. So because of that, we need to remember that, the month is going by very, very quickly, and we need to make full use of it before it leaves us, right? We only have a number of days left in the month. Now, very important is the fact that we know that, in the month of Ramadan, everyone is fasting, right? We are working on trying to fast. Those of you who are at home, all right, you may be fasting as well, all right? And what we want to go over today is some of the aspects of fasting that, help us understand its rulings. And we start off, first of all, with this diagram that comes from Safar Publications, which is the curriculum that we use in the Nur-e-Islam Maktab. This is us telling us about our fasting itself, right? Now, there are a number of things that we need to abstain from when we are fasting, right? When we are fasting, we can't eat anything, we can't drink anything. There are restrictions on what we can and can't do. Now, what happens if a person does something that breaks their fast, right? And what breaks the fast? And what causes the fast to be broken? And so here we have a little bit of a flow chart. What if someone, thinks that they break their fast because they have forgotten, right? Right? If they have forgotten. So, for example, you know, if your normal habit is that when you wake up, you open the fridge and you take some water, you drink it. That's your normal habit. If you forget that you're fasting and you do that, then in fact, that does not break your fast if you do something forgetfully, right? Or, if you are doing this forgetfully, then um, this is going to mean that your fast is still valid and you'd consider that that's a blessing from Allah. Now, that being said, a person doesn't think to themselves, oh, well, I'm just going to forgetfully drink a whole glass of water. No, no, no. But in a true case where someone forgets and eats or drinks while they're fasting, then their fast is still valid, it's not broken, and it will continue. Right? What about if someone breaks their fast because of a mistake? And so, for example, if you have a clock that has the wrong time and you don't hear the adhan where you are, right? And you break your fast too early, right? You break your fast too early, or you swallow some water during wudu. In wudu, we need to gargle water in your mouth, right? We need to wash our mouth. But what happens if a little bit of water goes down your throat while you are washing your mouth in wudu? Well, if you make a mistake like that, then your fast is going to be broken, right? So your fast is broken in this case, right? Broken, and you have to make up that fast, right? And then finally, if someone deliberately break their fast without a valid reason, right? Someone just says, you know what, I'm too tired, I'm too hungry to this day, right? This would be for those people whose fast is compulsory. So definitely for those who have reached a certain age and fasting is, compulsory upon them. If someone breaks their fast deliberately without a valid reason, then they have to make up that fast as well. Their fast is going to be broken, right? So for us in this state, for those who young children at home, right? If you are trying to fast and fasting becomes difficult, then it's okay for you to break your fast if you haven't reached right that age that you must fast and you are still learning how to fast. But when we become older and we know that we have to fast, then we need to ensure that we understand what breaks our fast and what doesn't break our fast. So if we forgetfully do something and break our fast still stands. If we make a mistake and break our fast, we have to make up our fast and our fast is broken. And if we deliberately break our fast, then we also have to make up our fast. All right. Now the next thing is the fact that we have two terms which are called qada and kafara. Right. Now the first term qada, you might hear different people say pronounce this very differently. Like especially when it comes to performing your salah, people might say kaza, right? Or certain things like that. But the Arabic term is qada, right? Qada. Qada means to make up. So if you miss the time for Salatul Dhuhr and you have to make up Salatul Dhuhr, then you have to perform Qada, right? You have to perform Qada Salah and make up that Salah, which means to perform it again out of its correct time. So Qada means to complete a missed or incomplete fast, right? So if fasting is compulsory upon you and you miss a fast, right, or you didn't complete a fast, meaning you had to break it because of a mistake, for example, then you will qada that fast. You will make up that fast. That means that you will, after the month of Ramadan, right, perform that fast again, right? You will perform that fast and make up the fast that you are doing, right? So qada, making up the fast. So after the month of Ramadan, any fast that you have missed or you might have broken, you will make it up. You will perform it again, right? Outside of the month of Ramadan. The term kafara is for those individuals who deliberately break their fast. They also have to in addition to making up the fast and covering the fast, they also have to pay a penalty, right? Um, because if a person does something wrong, then you just can't say that, oh, I did something wrong, it's going to be okay, right? There has to be some form of making up of the reason that they had done that wrong. So there's also something which is called kafara, but we won't be going too much into kafara today, right? Let's continue. Last thing we want to talk about today is the terms which are called fidya. Now, there are people who who cannot fast for some reason, right? Maybe they have some medical issue, or they have reached such an old age, right, that fasting will endanger them, right? They will not be able to fast anymore. For those people, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given something which is called fidya as an alternative, right? Now, fidya is a is that a person, for every day that they are unable to fast, right? For every day they can provide one poor person with 2 meals, or two poor people with 1 meal, right? The alternative is that they can give about a certain amount of wheat or barley, which is the amount of food to the poor people for each fast, right? Or a person gives the equivalent amount of money. Now, the fidya comes up to $14 TT, right, per day, right? So every day that a person misses a fast is the one they have to perform. Now, what's important here and why I have brought this here for us to discuss is that there is also a term which is called sadaqatul fitr, right? Now, sadaqatul fitr is a charity that a person, generally speaking, is the head of every household. They will pay this sadaqah, this charity, on behalf of the entire family. And the same amount stands $14 per person in your family. And this is given as a means of helping the poor people, right, who are in need, especially around the time of Eid al-Fitr, right? So Sadaqat al-Fitr, right, has to be paid before Eid al-Fitr. And the term fidya is just like that, it's the same amount, right? But the important thing to take from here is the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put in Islam a complete way, right, covering the treatment of the poor, covering every exceptional circumstance and the difficulties that people may have within themselves, right? We had the fact that there is, if you can't fast, Allah has given a concession, right? An alternative. If you miss a fast or you break your fast, Allah has given the makeup of that fast. And we have also the understanding of, if we break our fast, if we make a mistake, what happens? If we break our fast deliberately, what happens? And all of this helps us to understand the rules that Allah has put in place to govern our fasting and the way that we should carry out our Ramadan. Right? So, just like that, in all aspects of our deen and of our way of life, these guidelines and guidelines like this are there, right? And this is why it's so important for us to keep learning, right? And to keep learning throughout our entire lives, our deen, what Allah requires from us, and how we should care about ourselves, right? All of these rulings, they are known, right? What happens with salah, what happens with zakat, what happens with hajj, right? How do I do my business? What transactions are halal? What should I be involved in? How do I treat everyone? All of this is part of Islam. All of it is complete. All of it is without anything missing. And what we need to understand is that our weakness is our own knowledge and our own lack of knowledge, which is why we should keep learning and keep being involved in that process of learning. And if we have a question, if there's something that we don't know, we should ask those who do know. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned in the Quran. When you don't know something, ask those who do. Right? So when we don't know something in Islam, we try to find out. We ask those who know so that we will be able to be guided and we will be able to move forward, inshallah. So that will bring us to an end to today's session, inshallah. The sanctuary section. General point was the fact that Allah has given systems in place for everything that we do, right? That there is no doubt with regards to how we should do things. All these guidance have come in place. All of the guiding principles are already in place in our deen, and all that is left is for us to seek that knowledge and to gain the understanding of it and to follow it, inshallah. And to remember the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made Islam our way of life, a complete way of life, a way of life that is not missing anything. Just like the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam covered all aspects of our lives, the Deen of Islam does the same, because all of that is part of the Deen of Islam. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability to practice Islam in its entirety, to become the best individuals that we can be, to become the best Muslims that we can be, and to become individuals that He is pleased with and they are pleased with Him. آخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. See you tomorrow, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.